Do you ever find yourself tearing your hair out trying to think of what you're going to post on your business's social media? Well, you're not alone, but stick around and I'll give you a tip that makes social media and business much easier. What's up, Bizzy Nation? My name is Drew, and in this video we're going to be talking about documenting. First of all then, what is documenting? Well, it's something that Gary Vaynerchuk has popularized recently, and basically what it is you just document what you normally do in your day-to-day life, or try to find opportunities throughout that day for particular pieces of content. So instead of stressing about making the perfect piece of content, putting a lot of thought into, being creative and getting everything perfect, get everything right, instead of doing that, he pushes just creating content surrounding what you'd already be doing or opportunities that you see throughout your day. Now, I'll be giving practical examples on how this could be implemented for a few businesses later on in the video, so make sure you stick around for that. If you haven't already, join the nation and subscribe. On this channel, we upload weekly content relating to business and using social media in business, with our initial focus being on YouTube. Why then does documenting benefit you? Well, simply put, in today's environment of fast-paced and fast-moving business, you are required to upload a minimum of one piece of content to the majority of social media platforms to even stand out. And in some cases, you need 5. So trying to rack your brain and plan these pieces of content out can be very stressful and in some cases impractical to do so. That's one of the reasons I'd recommend documenting over actually planning and staging these things out, because it takes a lot of the stress away, the pressure of having to create these perfect pieces of content. When you accept that you're not perfect, but you know that you need to upload a magnitude and a high volume of content into the internet to even stand out or get ahead in the game, it becomes a lot easier, and you take a lot of the high pressure off actually creating those perfect pieces of content. Now, initially, yes, the content may be a bit lackluster and a bit shit, but the more you do it and the more you find out what your customers and your clients like on the social media platforms, then the more you'll hone your skill and create awesome and great content regardless of how much time and thought you've actually put into it. That's not to say that you completely kill your creativity and stop thinking of any cool stuff to do and just record what you're actually going to be doing throughout the day. Now, you do have the opportunity to, maybe you're out somewhere at lunch and you see someone that you know of, and you know that they're an interesting person and what they have to say would benefit your audience greatly. Well, go over to them and talk to them, ask them a few questions and record it, or send a tweet or put a post on Facebook, create some content surrounding that. So it's all about finding those opportunities in your day which may be out of the ordinary for you. You may have never actually, gone up to that person and spoken to them, but with the ambition of creating content, quite often you'll find yourself getting out of your comfort zone, doing a few things you might not have done for the content's purpose and for the benefit of your users and your subscribers or followers, whichever platform you're on. So, just because I'm pushing documenting and saying, document what you're doing in your day-to-day life, doesn't mean you can't seize the opportunity. It just means you need to be aware that you need to put out a magnitude and a high volume of content. So if you are trying to stage all of these events, it could get quite tiresome and it could get very tedious very fast. And I myself know initially it was like, well, what the hell, how am I going to do this? I've got 5 different platforms to try and upload things to pardon me, and it was very, very stressful. But ever since I started just looking at my day-to-day life and what I'm doing on my business and what I'm learning throughout my day, if it's reading or if it's reading posts on online or watching content, and I think my viewers would benefit from knowing something in there, I'll put like a snippet online, or I'll share the post and do things like that. So the more you get into the mindset, the easier it becomes. And with Facebook, how you can schedule posts ahead, it does become a lot easier. If you're a one-man entrepreneur, one-woman entrepreneur, I can understand where you're coming from if you're thinking, I don't have time to do all this social stuff, but you need to do it because it is a window to your customers. It's a direct line for feedback. It's a direct line to sales in a sense, that if you can build a relationship and whatnot, then you know, the benefits are huge. With marketing as well on like Facebook and Instagram, it's very, very underpriced considering what you'd pay for print media, for anything on TV, on the radio. You're getting a lot of bang for buck. The sort of difficulties lie in, I guess, the return of investment and actually measuring that. However, if you're doing it right, you'll see the results, and the results will speak for themselves. As I said earlier, we're going to run through some examples of me hypothetically owning a few businesses and how I would document in those particular businesses. Firstly, we're going to start off with a bakery. So I'm now the bakery owner, and I'm going to think of a few ideas as to how I would document throughout the day, just imagining what I imagine a bakery business would be like. So firstly, I would document the process of creating specific different things and upload one each and every day. So if I had, 20 or 30 things on the menu, I would record a video for each and every thing, make it, reasonably tidy and upload those videos. Then I could reshare them whenever I wanted to. Especially if I'm doing like cakes or anything like that. If there's anything where it's kind of artistic, people love to see that stuff. It's all over the internet, and people love to see beautiful food. So if you specialize in beautiful food, or if I specialized in the beautiful food at my bakery, I would be making sure to really publicize that, show it out, and maybe send some challenges out. Ask some of my subscribers or some of my followers, what kind of challenge do they have to set for me to create some bakery art, in a sense. I'd also look at doing something like a bake-off. If I've got multiple bakers, then we can do a bit of a bake-off and invite people to come in and try the differences, see who's better, rank them, rate them. Just a little bit of a way of engaging with your community and getting them to come out. Now, notice some of these things I'm saying you might not actually be doing in your day-to-day life, but I'm just imagining as myself being the owner how I would run it and what I would do. So that's the key for this, really, is I may be a little bit more creative and what some of the things I'm saying than the average bakery is, but that's just from my point of view, and to me it seems like common sense that you'd do something like this. Now, with social media, there's a great opportunity to do live streaming as well. So if I at my bakery had coffee, I would look at doing some form of chat with the people where I'm sitting down with a cup of coffee or whatnot. I'd also look at having like a happy hour, but not obviously with alcohol, for either coffee or something like that, and publicise that, sending that out amongst the community. Trying to think of a few other things. I would probably interview some of the team, go around and have a talk to them, see why they got into the bakery industry, if they're the bakers, and have a talk to them, get to know them, as well as, obviously with their consent, sharing that stuff online, sharing the ins and outs of what the inside of our kitchen looks like, showing them all of the utensils, how to use, so instructional tutorial videos, stuff that you would take for granted if you were the baker. You'd already sort of, know what they are, but to someone from the outside, seeing how the bread is made or how the pastry is made is quite amazing. So if you can share something like that, then it'll be awesome. If you deliver to other people, or if I deliver to other people rather, I would show, the interactions with those customers, me delivering them the goods and stuff like that. So it really could go on and on. I could talk about it for ages. If I actually sat down and brainstormed it, I could come up with some semi-decent stuff instead of what I've just blurted out. But that's off the top of the head. So it is what it is. Secondly, we're going to jump into a clothing store. So I now imagine that I was the owner of a clothing store, and for this particular instance, I'm going to imagine, because most business owners would be in the industry of boutique clothing, or a small sort of clothing store where they'd have second hand or they'd have boutique designers coming in. But I'm going to go boutique designer and imagine for that. So firstly, I would think that unboxing all of the stuff, or unwrapping. So if we're getting a shipment delivered, unwrapping all the new clothing or shoes or whatever I have at my store, and showing those, talking about the quality, especially if I can get in contact with the designers slash the fashion designers or whoever's created it, and have a sit down, have a chat to them, and really pick their brains about how they've designed this particular piece of clothing, why they've done it. Get their insights, because if someone's going to get emotionally involved enough to watch a video about this particular piece of clothing, do you think they're more likely to come in and buy it? Hell yeah. I'd also look at doing something like either modelling with the staff members. So, you know, if I've got someone in my staff who wants to be a model, or is, you know, loves clothing, loves trying it on, and isn't too camera shy, then modelling some of the clothing, uploading, you know, photos of all the new stuff we've got in. Also, something I could potentially do is with customer consent, you know, if they're wanting to show off their new outfit, especially if it's more boutique-y and sort of once-off pieces of clothing rather than a whole bunch of t-shirts exactly the same, which are kind of boring. I would take videos or photos of them in the outfit and then promote them, tag them online. That way you've got all of their friends seeing how cool they look in their new dress or their new kicks, and there's a lot of publicity there. So it's just about trying to find little opportunities like that where, you know, you could potentially create some virality online, or just create some form of content that you can upload. If I was going to do, you know, have meetings trying to decide what piece of clothing I wanted to show in the store, then just recording the ins and outs of the business like that could be a way to do it as well. A virtual tour of the store, offering people the opportunity to help you with how you structure your store, you know, if they've got any feedback, things like that. Just really being customer focused, customer orientated, and trying to think, well, how can I either add value to them, or how can I get them to engage with me and talk to me online. So it's thinking like that you'll be able to think of plenty of opportunities where you can create great content. Now, I'm not saying you do this all the time, but at least once a week do something creative like that, where it's, you know, something you'd normally do in your day-to-day activities, but you flip it on its head and you think, oh, how can I shake this up a bit and make it a little bit more interesting, for the sense that it may go viral, or it may, you know, gain a lot of momentum online. Rant over. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed running my mouth. Hopefully you got some value from it. It's something I really enjoy doing, brainstorming and coming up with ideas, but obviously from the outside in, it's a little bit difficult, and not getting the opportunity to sit down and actually think of some great ideas on paper put a bit of pressure, so some of them are pretty rubbish, but it is what it is. If you like the video, please subscribe. I'll be creating a lot of future content similar to this, and remember guys, keep up the hustle, but don't forget to use your head muscle.